The galaxy was not a gentle place. It was wide, endless, and filled with countless stars, each carrying their own history, their own wars, and their own rulers. Civilizations had risen and fallen long before Earth had even learned how to build fire. Empires had stretched their claws across entire star systems while humanity still hunted with stone blades. To those ancient races, Earth was nothing more than a young world, barely worth notice. When humans first sent their small ships into deep space, the galaxy had already been waiting. The Great Council of the Stars, formed by old and powerful species, watched humanity with amusement. Their fleets stretched thousands strong. Their colonies numbered in the hundreds. Their histories were written in blood and victory. And then, here came humanity, with fragile little craft, clumsy engines, and voices full of hope. They laughed. "Earth is defenseless," one ambassador said in the Grand Chamber of the Council. "A small world with no allies, no colonies, and no fleets. A child among giants." The laughter spread, carried on across the stars. In the markets of alien worlds, human ships were mocked as tin cans. On military academies, Earth was used as an example of weakness, a lesson in how little power mattered when no empire stood behind you. Even the smaller alien races looked down upon humanity, believing that Earth would be swallowed, carved apart, and enslaved before a century passed. To the galaxy, Earth was not a threat. It was a prize. And behind their laughter, whispers began. Some dreamed of seizing Earth's oceans, rich in liquid water. Others longed for the planet's fertile soil, its untouched resources, and its strategic position near important trade routes. In their arrogance, they thought Earth could never resist. They thought humanity would bow. But they did not know Earth's history. Humanity had been mocked before. Humanity had been invaded before. Again and again, stronger enemies had come, empires with larger armies, conquerors with sharper blades, tyrants with endless greed. And every time, humanity had fought. Sometimes broken, sometimes scarred, but never erased. They carried the memory of every war, every struggle, every tear shed across generations. The galaxy saw only a small world. But Earth remembered that weakness often invited change. So while the galaxy mocked, Earth prepared. At first, it was slow, careful, and quiet. Humanity kept a public face of innocence. They showed the galaxy their peaceful trade ships, their smiling diplomats, their explorers who offered friendship. The councils saw no danger in them. Why would they? But beneath the surface, far from alien eyes, Earth worked. In secret shipyards hidden within asteroid fields, engineers built hulls not meant for trade, but for war. Beneath the waves of the oceans, ancient submarine bases were transformed into dry docks where carriers took shape, their steel skeletons rising in silence. On the far side of the moon, cloaked stations hummed with energy, storing weapons powerful enough to pierce through the heaviest alien shields. Humanity studied everything it could. Every alien weapon purchased, every engine design traded, every fragment of foreign technology, it was not wasted. Earth improved it, copied it, reshaped it. Where the galaxy had grown arrogant in its age, humanity grew sharper in its youth. The old races built for pride, humans built for survival. Years turned to decades. Generations passed. And still the galaxy laughed. Earth cannot defend itself. Earth will fall to the first real war. But Earth kept silent, and Earth kept building. Then came the day of the first threat. It began with a coalition of mid-sized empires, greedy for resources and jealous of each other's power. Together, they decided Earth would be an easy conquest, a way to feed their fleets and prove their strength. They arrived at the edge of the solar system with ships that blotted out the stars. 1,000 vessels, battleships, cruisers, carriers, lined up like an iron wall. Their weapons gleamed, their banners spread wide, and their voices echoed across every human channel. "Earth," their message declared, "you are weak. You are defenseless. Surrender your world, surrender your skies, and surrender your future. Resist, and you will burn." The people of Earth trembled. From cities and villages, from oceans and mountains, humanity watched the heavens, believing that the end had finally come. Parents held their children close. Soldiers stood ready on Earth's soil, though their rifles seemed like sticks compared to the firepower above. Fear spread like a shadow across the world. But far above, in the silence of space, other shadows moved. For the first time, Earth's hidden strength began to stir. In the asteroid belts, armored doors opened, revealing warships that had slept for years. In the dark side of the moon, massive engines lit up, shaking off the dust of secrecy. From the deep oceans, carriers began to rise, breaking the waves like leviathans. Humanity had been mocked. Humanity had been underestimated. But the time for silence was over. The galaxy did not yet know what was coming. The Coalition's admirals laughed as they waited for Earth's surrender. They thought the humans would kneel. They thought victory would be simple, clean, and quick. But in the command centers of Earth, calm voices spoke. Orders were given. Codes were activated. Doors that had never opened to the galaxy before began to slide apart, releasing ships into the heavens. Each vessel carried a name taken from storms, mountains, and legends, names that spoke of fury and endurance. Humanity had not built toys. They had built a fleet of shadows, forged for the moment when mockery turned to threat. And that moment had come. The people of Earth did not yet see the full fleet rising to defend them. But they felt it. For the first time, fear began to fade. Somewhere deep inside, every human heart remembered what history had taught them. Humanity bends, but it does not break. The galaxy had called Earth defenseless. Soon, the galaxy would learn how wrong they had been. The fleets of the Coalition moved closer, their ships like a wall of steel and fire in the darkness. To the galaxy, it was a show of power. To Earth, it was a test of survival. The alien commanders believed they had already won. In their minds, humanity had no answer. But far from their sight, Earth's hidden strength began to awaken. Deep in the asteroid belt, massive doors hidden beneath layers of rock opened for the first time. Out of the shadows slid warships the galaxy had never seen. Their black hulls absorbed the light, sharp edges cutting against the stars. They did not move with hesitation, but with the calm of machines waiting for their moment. Each one was a secret that humanity had guarded for decades. The ships were built not for show, but for survival. Carriers the size of floating cities, cruisers armed with weapons that hummed with raw power, frigates designed to strike with speed and vanish into the void. They were given names whispered in old stories: Tempest, Avalanche, Thunderchild, Leviathan. These were not names of weakness. These were names of storms, of forces that could not be stopped. On the far side of the moon, cloaked stations powered up. For years, they had pretended to be abandoned satellites, nothing more than debris floating silently. But now their true form revealed itself: fortresses armed with rail cannons that could pierce through the strongest shields, missile platforms loaded with warheads, and hangars releasing waves of fighters into the dark. From the depths of Earth's oceans, shadows rose. Massive carriers surfaced, sending water cascading in giant waves. Submarine bases opened, releasing sleek warships that broke through the sea and climbed into the sky. For the first time in history, humanity's full strength rose not to be hidden, but to be seen. The people of Earth watched in disbelief. In the cities, screens that had once shown enemy fleets now showed human warships rising to meet them. From villages, mountains, and islands, children pointed at the skies as ships broke through the clouds. Soldiers on the ground looked up, their fear slowly melting into pride. For so long, humanity had been mocked. For so long, the galaxy believed Earth had no teeth. Now, the truth revealed itself. But humanity did not celebrate. They did not cheer too soon. For all their strength, the enemy was still massive. 1,000 ships, older, larger, and experienced in countless wars. The Coalition fleets had crushed rivals before. They had burned planets before. They thought this would be no different. The storm was gathering. But storms were not won in silence, they were unleashed in fury. Inside the flagship of the Coalition, alien commanders laughed at the sight of human ships. To them, they were still small. Still weak. Cheap copies, one admiral said, his voice sharp and mocking. Imitation weapons, another added. They will crumble like paper once the battle begins. But behind his calm face, the leader of Earth's hidden fleet, Admiral Reeve, watched silently. His hands rested on the command table, his eyes fixed on the swarm of enemy ships that filled his screens. Around him, officers stood ready. They were not men and women of pride, they were people of survival. Reeve's voice was steady, almost too calm. Transmit no surrender. No fear. Let them come closer. Let them believe their mockery. And when they are ready, he paused, his gaze cold as steel. We will show them what humanity truly is. The officers nodded, their faces pale but determined. They knew the risks. Many of them would not live to see tomorrow. But they carried the weight of Earth on their shoulders. In the streets of Earth, the fear was shifting. Where there had been trembling silence, there was now a strange quiet strength. Families held each other close, not in despair, but in courage. Children who had once cried now whispered, "Our ships will protect us." Soldiers who thought they would fight alone on the ground now stood taller, their eyes fixed on the skies. Hope was fragile, but it was growing. The alien fleet continued its approach, confident in its strength. Thousands of guns powered up, preparing to unleash destruction on Earth. And still, Earth's fleet waited in silence, hidden in the shadows, engines humming like the heartbeat of giants. For years, humanity had prepared for this moment. Every secret test, every hidden launch, every sacrifice had been for this day. They had never wanted war. They had never wanted blood. But peace was not given freely. Peace had to be protected, sometimes with fire. The galaxy had mistaken patience for weakness. They had mistaken silence for surrender. Now, they would face the truth. Inside Earth's Fleet Command, the tension was heavy. Officers whispered updates. Pilots strapped themselves into their fighters, hands trembling, eyes sharp. Engineers prayed over their machines. Everyone knew what was at stake. Admiral Reeve finally gave the order. His voice echoed across every ship, every station, every fighter. Today, they will learn what it means to threaten Earth. Today, we show them our storm. Hold the line. Fight with everything you have. Humanity stands together. The transmission ended, but its echo lived in every heart. The enemy fleet moved closer, their ships like a tide of steel. From orbit, the night sky began to glow with their engines, bright as burning suns. To the people below, it was like watching doom approach. But humanity was no longer afraid. They knew what waited in the dark. The hidden fleet had risen. The storm was ready. And when the first shot was fired, the galaxy would never laugh again. The coalition fleet moved into Earth's orbit like a storm of iron. Thousands of alien ships formed a wall across the stars, their weapons glowing, their engines burning bright against the black sky. To the people watching from the ground, it felt as if the heavens themselves had turned against them. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers on Earth's soil gripped their rifles, knowing they were useless against ships the size of cities. Cities fell silent, prayers whispered into the night. Humanity held its breath, waiting for the end. The aliens sent another message, their voices full of arrogance. Earth, surrender. You are surrounded. Your ships are toys. Your people are weak. Resist, and you will be destroyed. But humanity did not answer with words. In the silence of space, Earth's hidden fleet moved. From the dark side of the moon, shadows came alive. Warships emerged, engines igniting like fire after a long winter. From the asteroid belt, doors opened and black ships slid out, wings sharp, weapons glowing. From beneath Earth's oceans, carriers broke through the waves, launching squadrons of fighters that screamed upward into the skies. The aliens paused. For a moment, they were amused. To them, this was a desperate show. A final act before death. More toys, one alien admiral sneered. Let them play. But their laughter faded when the first human volley struck. The opening salvo was sudden, brutal, and merciless. From hidden stations, Earth's rail cannons fired. Metal slugs, traveling faster than light, tore through alien shields as if they were paper. Battleships cracked in half, their cores exploding in fire. From carriers, swarms of human fighters surged forward, small but fast, weaving between enemy defenses and striking engines with deadly precision. The aliens had expected weak lasers, outdated missiles. Instead, they were met with weapons they had never seen before, hybrids of stolen alien tech and human ingenuity. Every shot was stronger, every shield tougher, every engine faster than what the galaxy believed possible for a defenseless world. Dozens of alien ships fell in the first minutes. Flames lit the sky, wreckage rained down, and the stars seemed to shatter under the storm. On Earth, the people saw it. For the first time, fear gave way to hope. Crowds gathered in streets, pointing to the heavens where streaks of light danced. At first, they thought it was the enemy firing. But then they saw the truth, alien ships breaking apart, fire consuming them, and human vessels cutting through the dark like wolves among sheep. Children who had been crying now shouted with joy. Soldiers on the ground roared, their voices carrying across bases and camps. The people of Earth no longer felt like prey. They saw their defenders, and they felt pride. Inside the coalition flagship, chaos spread. Admirals shouted, their voices full of disbelief. Screens showed their mighty ships exploding one after another. Formations broke apart as human fighters tore through their lines. Their fleets had crushed empires before, but this was different. This was not weakness. This was fury. "How are their weapons so strong?" one shouted. "Where did these ships come from?" another demanded. But no answer came. Only silence, broken by the screams of destroyed vessels. On board Earth's flagship, Admiral Reeve watched calmly, though his heart pounded in his chest. His officers cheered with each enemy ship destroyed, but Reeve raised his hand for silence. "This is only the beginning," he said. His voice was steady, but heavy with responsibility. "Do not grow careless. They will fight back with everything they have. Hold the line. Strike hard. No mercy for those who came to enslave us." The officers nodded, their faces lit by the glow of battle. They knew the fight was far from over. But they also knew this: humanity had drawn first blood. The coalition tried to rally. Alien cruisers pushed forward, weapons blazing. Beams of energy shot through the void, striking Earth ships. One human frigate exploded, torn apart in seconds. Dozens of fighters were lost in the crossfire. The enemy was powerful, and they were not ready to give up. But humanity fought differently. Where the aliens relied on old tactics, humanity was unpredictable. Their ships darted in unexpected patterns, attacking from blind angles. Their weapons struck not at shields, but at engines and supply lines. Their fighters moved in swarms, overwhelming larger ships with speed and precision. Every move carried the lessons of history. Humanity had always been smaller, always been outnumbered. On Earth, they had survived by fighting smarter, not larger. And now, in the stars, that same spirit burned bright. The battle raged for hours. The sky above Earth turned into a canvas of fire and wreckage. Entire fleets clashed in silence, broken only by explosions that lit the void. Alien ships shattered. Human ships burned. But the tide was clear, the coalition was losing. On the ground, people stood on rooftops, mountains, and open fields, watching the heavens. The fear that had gripped them only hours ago was gone. Now they felt something new, something powerful: pride. For the first time, Earth was not a victim. Earth was not prey. Earth was fighting back. Admiral Reeve's voice echoed across the fleet. "Remember this day. Remember why we fight. Not for conquest. Not for pride. We fight because they thought they could take our home. Show them what it means to face humanity." And the fleet answered, not with words, but with fire. Humanity's hidden Warfleet unleashed everything. Missiles streaked across the void. Cannons roared. Fighters moved like storms of steel and flame. The coalition tried to hold, but their lines broke. Their commanders fell silent, their fleet scattered, their arrogance shattered. By the time the battle reached its peak, hundreds of alien ships were gone. Wreckage drifted through the void, glowing like dying stars. The coalition had come expecting surrender, expecting weakness. Instead, they faced annihilation. And still, Earth's fleet fought on. For humanity, this was not just survival. This was a message. A message written in fire, carved into the stars. A message the galaxy would never forget. From the ground, people wept as they watched. Tears of fear turned into tears of pride. Families embraced, no longer afraid of the ships above. Children shouted the names of human vessels as they streaked across the sky, their black hulls glowing with battle. The heavens had been filled with the enemy. But now, they were filled with fire, and in that fire, humanity's strength was revealed. The first strike had been made. The galaxy had been warned. And the war for Earth had truly begun. The sky above Earth burned. What had begun as silence now thundered with fire, light, and ruin. Ships exploded like falling stars, scattering wreckage that glowed red and gold against the darkness of space. The coalition's once proud fleet, a wall of steel that stretched across the heavens, was breaking. But the battle was not over. The coalition fought with desperation. Their commanders screamed orders, their ships forming tight clusters to defend each other. They launched wave after wave of fighters, filling the void with silver streaks of light. Their larger cruisers fired massive beams, tearing through the blackness like blades of fire. They were not ready to surrender, not ready to believe that Earth, a single, young world, could stand against them. But humanity was not fighting alone. Humanity was fighting with every memory of survival burned into their blood. Admiral Reeve stood on the bridge of the human flagship Erebus. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the storm. Around him, officers moved quickly, reporting damage, relaying orders, calculating new strikes. The battle map glowed red with enemy signatures, but slowly, steadily, the red marks were fading. "Sector 7 clear," one officer reported. Enemy cruiser destroyed in the belt, another shouted. But then came the cost. We've lost the Tempest. Casualties high. Survivors ejected, requesting rescue. Reeve closed his eyes for a moment. Each loss weighed heavily, but there was no time to grieve. Every second mattered. Every order carried the lives of thousands. His voice remained steady as he replied, "Hold the line. Bring the Thunderchild forward. Cover the survivors and keep pressing. Do not let them regroup." The officers obeyed. They trusted him, not because he promised victory without sacrifice, but because he carried their pain as his own. In the void, humanity's ships fought with ruthless precision. Fighters moved in swarms, darting between massive cruisers, striking engines and fuel lines with deadly accuracy. Frigates leapt from cover to cover, using asteroids as shields before unleashing volleys of missiles. Carriers released endless waves of defenders, pilots shouting through comms, voices filled with both fear and fire. The coalition was larger, but Earth was sharper. Where the aliens relied on old traditions of war, humanity's fleet adapted in moments. Every loss became a lesson. Every strike became a strategy. One alien battleship unleashed a beam that tore through 2 human frigates. The coalition cheered for a moment, until a hidden Earth station revealed itself, firing a rail cannon that split the battleship into 2 burning halves. The heavens shuddered with the clash. On Earth's surface, billions watched. Across continents, people stood outside, staring upward at the burning sky. Explosions flashed like lightning in the night. Wreckage fell, glowing like comets, vanishing in the atmosphere. To the people, it was terrifying and beautiful all at once. In the cities, children pressed their faces to windows, whispering the names of ships they had just learned. Soldiers in bases lifted their heads, their fear replaced by something stronger, pride. For the first time in history, the people of Earth saw themselves not as weak, not as prey, but as a storm that shook the heavens. Inside the coalition fleet, panic grew. Admirals who had laughed hours before now shouted in fear. Their shields failed faster than they could recharge. Their formations collapsed as human ships struck from angles they never expected. What was supposed to be a quick conquest had turned into disaster. "They should not have this power," one alien commander roared, slamming his clawed hand against the table. "They were supposed to be defenseless," another cried, as his screen filled with red alarms. But the truth was undeniable. Earth had hidden its strength too well, prepared too carefully, waited too patiently. Now that strength was unleashed, and the coalition was drowning in it. Admiral Reeve gave the next order, his voice calm but carrying across every ship in the fleet. "Push forward. Break their core line. Do not stop until their command ships fall." The response came not in words, but in action. Human ships surged forward like a tide. Frigates darted into the heart of the enemy. Fighters swarmed command ships, disabling weapons and engines. Carriers launched wave after wave until the skies were filled with fire. Then, the Leviathan, Earth's largest hidden battleship, moved into position. Its cannons glowed bright, a light so fierce it cut through the void. With one massive shot, it unleashed its fury. The beam tore through 3 alien cruisers in a single blast, shattering them into fire and dust. The heavens themselves seemed to break apart under the strike. On the ground, the people of Earth saw it. They saw the beam split the sky, and a roar erupted across the planet. From villages and cities, from deserts and mountains, cheers rose like thunder. For the first time, they knew Earth was not weak. Earth was not prey. Earth was strong. Families embraced, tears streaming down their faces. Soldiers shouted and raised their weapons to the heavens, not in fear, but in celebration. The world that had once been mocked now stood as a symbol of defiance. The coalition fleet was shattering. One by one, their ships broke apart, scattered into wreckage. Commanders fled, their voices desperate, their orders collapsing into chaos. The proud fleet that had once covered the sky was nothing more than fragments drifting in fire. Humanity did not stop. Humanity pressed on, carrying the storm forward, breaking every line until the enemy was left in ruins. Hours passed, and finally, silence began to fall. Wreckage floated through the void, glowing faintly in the dying light of battle. The coalition was broken. Their fleets were gone. Their arrogance was buried in the fire they had provoked. Admiral Reeve stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the table as he looked at the screens. The battle was over, but the cost was written in flames. Human ships, too, had fallen. Brave pilots, soldiers, and crews had given their lives to protect their world. The heavens were filled with both victory and grief. His officers looked to him, waiting. Slowly, he spoke, his voice soft but strong. Today, Earth has shown the galaxy who we are. Not weak. Not defenseless. We are the children of storms, the survivors of every trial. And if they come again, we will rise again. This is our home. And we will never surrender it. Across Earth, the word spread. They were carried through broadcasts, through whispers, through the hearts of billions. Humanity stood united, stronger than it had ever been. The heavens had been shattered. The coalition had been broken. And Earth, once mocked, now stood as a power that the galaxy could no longer ignore. The storm had come. And it was only the beginning. The battle was over. Above Earth, the heavens were quiet once more, but the silence was heavy. Wreckage drifted across the void, shattered pieces of alien cruisers, fragments of battleships, glowing fires from dying engines. Where once a mighty coalition fleet had stood proud, now only ruins remained. And among that wreckage, humanity's Warfleet still stood. Damaged, scarred, blooded, but victorious. On the surface of Earth, people poured into the streets. All night, they had watched the sky burn. All night, they had feared their world would be lost. But as dawn began to break across the horizon, they saw victory. Children pointed at the streaks of human ships returning home. Families embraced, their tears no longer born of fear, but of pride. Soldiers stood tall, saluting the heavens. For the first time in centuries, humanity did not feel small. They did not feel like prey. They felt united, powerful, unbroken. Everywhere, a single truth spread. Earth had survived. But survival came at a price. Inside Earth's command ships, the officers read the casualty lists. Ships lost. Squadrons destroyed. Brave crews who had given their lives so that the world below could live. The Warfleet had won, but many families would never see their loved ones again. Admiral Reeve stood on the bridge of the Erebus, looking out at the drifting wreckage. His heart was heavy, his shoulders burdened with the weight of those names. He knew victory was not clean. Victory was not without pain. Every scar carved into the fleet was a reminder of the sacrifice that had been made. His officers looked at him, waiting. They needed words, not of pride, but of meaning. And so, in a quiet voice that reached every ship, he spoke. "Brothers and sisters of Earth," Reeve began, his tone steady, "today we face the storm that the galaxy sent against us. They mocked us as weak. They came to steal our home. They thought we would bow. But we did not. We stood. We fought. And we endured." The bridge was silent, his words carried across the fleet. "Make no mistake, our victory was not without cost. We have lost ships. We have lost friends. We have lost family. Their names will not be forgotten. Their sacrifice is the reason our children will see another sunrise." His voice grew firmer, filled with the weight of history. "Let the galaxy hear us. We are not defenseless. We are not fragile. We are humanity. We are the storm that breaks chains. We are the fire that refuses to die. Mock us again, and remember this day, the day Earth shattered the heavens." The transmission ended. But its echo traveled far beyond Earth. For the coalition survivors, the message was seared into their memory. Their broken ships limped away from the battlefield, carrying the story to every empire, every council, every ruler of the stars. They would speak of it with fear in their voices. How Earth, a planet once called weak, had unleashed a fleet that rivaled empires. How the coalition's arrogance had been broken in fire. How a single world had stood against 1,000 ships, and prevailed. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now, the galaxy would never laugh again. On Earth, life began to change. Where once humanity had been divided by nations, by borders, by pride, they now stood together. Every country, every people, every culture had shared the same fear, the same hope, the same victory. And in that unity, humanity found something greater than survival. They found purpose. Children who once dreamed of stars now dreamed of becoming pilots. Engineers worked with pride, building not just for trade, but for defense. Families looked at the night sky not with dread, but with strength. The stars were no longer a threat, they were a challenge. Earth was no longer a world waiting to be conquered. Earth was a power the galaxy had to respect. But even as the cheers echoed, even as hope filled the world, Admiral Reeve knew the truth. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The galaxy was vast. Other empires were watching. Some with fear. some with envy, some with hunger. Earth's secret was no longer hidden. Their strength had been revealed. And with revelation came danger. That was why the fleet would not rest. Shipyards continued their work in silence. Engineers built stronger weapons. Pilots trained harder. Humanity did not seek war, but they would never again be caught unprepared. The Warfleet returned to its shadows, not to hide in fear, but to wait. To watch. To be ready. Because peace was fragile. And peace could only survive if strength stood behind it. That night, as the world celebrated, Admiral Reeves stood alone on the viewing deck of the Erebus. Through the wide glass, he saw the stars, cold, endless, watching. In the distance, pieces of alien wreckage still burned, glowing like dying embers against the void. He thought of the men and women who would never return. He thought of the families who would grieve, even on a day of victory. He thought of the galaxy, waiting in silence, wondering what Earth would do next. And then, he whispered, not for others, but for himself. We are no longer the children who crawl. We are no longer the prey who hide. We are the storm. And the galaxy will remember. On Earth, dawn rose. Golden light spread across oceans, mountains, and cities. The people looked to the sky, and in that light, they saw hope. They saw pride. They saw the beginning of a new era. For the first time in history, humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not with words, not with diplomacy, but with strength, sacrifice, and unity. And though scars remained, though grief lingered, one truth was clear. Earth would never again be mocked. Earth would never again be seen as weak. Earth had shattered the heavens, and the echo of that victory would carry across the stars for generations to come.